Alright, this is the Reading of the Antique Bible, Part 6. And forgive the angle of this page, but it's a thick book, and it's falling apart, so I can't pull on it too much. Let's see, we left off here. The liturgy was completed and established by act of Parliament in 1549, excuse me. Well, actually, the Orthodox liturgy was made long before that. But anyway, all this reading I'm doing is really for a way to spend your time more profitably than a lot of things out there. So that's the whole purpose. In fact, I may read some books privately and make private videos for my children and grandchildren. They can use my account after I'm gone. Anyway, Romanism was restored to power by law under Queen Mary in 1553. John Rogers was burned at the stake, and many Protestant scholars and divines were driven into exile when they went to Geneva, where they entered into the spirit of translation with an increased vigor in 1539. Obviously, burning people at the stake for heresy is a very unorthodox Christian thing to do. An edition of the whole Bible, omitting the Apocrypha, was printed at Geneva in 1560 in English, which is called the Geneva Bible, and it held the popular favor of 60 years, only giving way to the authorized version of King James. If you want to know the appropriate way to deal with heresy, you read the Bible and the lives of the saints and the early councils of the church, the Orthodox Church. Anyway, a Bible dictionary was added to it in 1578. A curious feature in it was an attempt to give the Hebrew names of persons in English letters. As Heva for Eve, and Isaac for Isaac, and Jeremiah for Jeremiah. Matthew Parker, Archbishop of Canterbury, published the Bishop's Bible in 1568 in one volume folio, in which there were a number of woodcuts, maps, and copper plate engravings of interesting places and things, both in the Old and the New Testaments, and the Apocrypha. At length, in 1582, the Roman Church yielded to the popular demand for the scriptures in English and issued the Dua version, translated from the Latin Vulgate and not from the original Greek. The historian Fuller said that the, quote, Dua Bible was a translation which needed to be translated, end quote, and also that, quote, its editors by all means labored to suppress the light of the truth under one pretense or another, end quote. So obviously this is a Protestant perspective, and it's neither Protestant or Roman Catholic or Orthodox. So the Old Testament was translated by William Allen Cardinal, Gregory Martin, and Richard Briston, and republished at Douai in 1610. The New Testament having been published at Reims in 1582. The notes were supplied by the Thomas Worthington, and the whole has continued until the present time in favor and authority in the Roman Church as its standard version in English. King James I in 1604, on the motion of Hampton Court Conference, having been made by Dr. John Reynolds, a Puritan, selected 54 scholars and divines, of whom 47 served in making a new translation. There were among them men of various parties, as of the High Church, Andrews, Barlow, Montague, Overall, and Saravia; of the Puritans, Reynolds, Chatterton, and Lively; and of those who were of no church party, Henry Saville and John Boise. These men were all distinguished for piety and eminent learning in Oriental languages. There were no records of the meetings of the translators preserved, so far as known, but their rules for proceeding with their work were published. When each company had met together to examine and agree upon the readings of the text, quote, one of the party would read the translation while the others held in their hands some version of the scriptures in either one of the learned tongues, and if any error or fault was noticed, they spoke. If not, he read on, end quote. The work was completed in 3 years. The introduction and argument of each book were written by Thomas Bilson, Bishop of Winchester, and Dr. Smith. The preface was the work of Dr. Miles Smith, who was afterward Bishop of Gloucester. In this, he says, quote, "We, hopen by their labors, do endeavor to make better that which they left so good. No man, we are sure, hath cause to mistake us. They we persuade ourselves, if they were alive, would thank us," end quote. And he also said that, quote, it is their aim not to make a new translation, nor yet make of a bad one a good one, but to make a good one better, or out of many good ones, one principal good one, end quote. The work was completed and published in 1611 with the following title, quote, "The Holy Bible containing," oh, it's Old English, okay, "containing the Old Testament and the New, newly translated out of the original tongues, and with the former translations diligently compared and revised by His Majesty's special commandment, imprinted at London by Robert Barker, printer of the King's Most Excellent Majesty, 1611, end quote." I'm going to stop there. So, God bless you. Have a good day or night.